All right, we're back on the World Crypto Network because we did that thing where we never left, but we got up and had a break, and then we came back, and then you guys were still sitting here at your desks running this audio in the background. That's the theory.
Yeah, all three.
All three of you, including Luke from the UK. What's up, Luke? And Fred and Jeff. So those are our fans today.
Right on.
So we're at the Lightning Conference in Berlin with Josh from Vaultoro, who's also running the live stream for the Lightning Conference. Not a lot of time here, Josh.
Yeah, not a lot of time. We've got 20 minutes.
What can you tell the people about the Lightning Conference and what's going on at Vaultoro?
Oh, man. The Lightning Conference, you know, we've covered every hack day because, you know, obviously having off-chain transactions is a good deal. Like our business really suffered during the massive like fee hikes because we just weren't ready for the instant sort of spike in fees, and everyone was like bitching and moaning saying, oh, you know, I can't get my transactions out.
There's definitely a time there where it cost more money than people wanted to pay to move their amazing digital Bitcoin around.
Yeah. And of course, you know, then we had to like bump up miners and do the whole like, you know, sending extra transactions to miners to give certain transactions. And anyway, it was a big mess. So at the start, before the big fork, we thought, well, okay, well, we need some sort of break in this stalemate. This whole stalemate of like, you know, no to it, like, you know, no double time, and
no
SegWit, and just no one was budging.
Splitting and the forks, and I know some companies that do discounts, they ran off with Bitcoin Cash. They got some kind of marriage or some kind of proposal or investment or something, and they had to give up the Bitcoin way. But you guys didn't do that, huh?
No, I mean we did sign initially onto the 2x thing because I thought that's a really good way. Like the big blockers can have their thing, and we can just get on with our thing. It's a compromise. But then, of course, Bitcoin Cash split away. And it was like, we don't need the 2x anymore. Let's just drop that now because they've got theirs, we've got ours. I don't even want to say they and we. They're just two different, you know, they're two different styles of scaling. Maybe one scales better than the other.
Well, it would have been great if we could have stuck together and worked together. I was arguing for United Bitcoin at the time. No one was listening to me. They had lots and lots of money that they had to make. They couldn't mess around with any kind of Bitcoin solidarity ideas. But they were out there. They were being expressed. But yeah, so they went ahead and broke off. And you guys stuck with Bitcoin and stuck with Lightning?
Yeah, we stuck with Bitcoin and stuck with Lightning. We became the first exchange to accept Lightning payments back 2 years ago almost. And you know, of course, we sort of took it offline about 8 months ago because it was upgrading so quickly, and we just really wanted to focus on building the new version. But we'll get it back on pretty soon. And
so you launched the new version. You launched Vaultoro 2.0.
Yeah, the big 2.0. So we've you know, we built Vaultoro 5 years ago, and it was a single thing. So we want to have more metals: silver, platinum, palladium, and you know, really have Bitcoin.
Maybe rhodium, Bitcoin rhodium.
Yeah.
It's funny to me.
It's well, you know, funnily enough, there are strange requests. People want really weird elements. Yeah, diamonds are hard. Actually, man-made diamonds would be good because they're more fungible. You know, you can make exact versions of them, and they're useful, you know, in industry.
Now we got the big couch going.
Now we got it going.
Although if you want, you could eat some food.
But I'll hand it over.
In one of those, like.
Peter, what do you think of elements in the periodic table being tradable with crypto? Do you think it's useful?
You know, when you were talking about, you know, the man-made stuff and the elements, I just thought, you know, I really want some cobalt 60.
Yeah.
Plutonium.
I mean, it has such a lovely glow, and it's so good for doing things to your skin. Maybe not good things, but it definitely does things to your skin.
Well, and it would be cobalt in liquid. So it would be very good to, you know, spread around. Maybe take a shower with it.
Oh, it's on liquid. I'm sold. Anything that's on liquid or green or any of the other words that we've appropriated recently at the Blockstream mega company. Let's take some more words. Orange wallet.
Look, I'm looking at that Vaultoro hat, just thinking to myself, you know, that's actually an all right name.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah.
Part of it means vault, and part of it is oro, which is Spanish for gold.
Yeah, it was actually just because all URLs are gone. So you're trying to like find a name back in the day.
Every project I do, it step one is, can I get the right URLs for it?
Yeah, right.
If not, you don't do it.
Yeah, open timestamps was almost closed timestamps, but you're able to get the right domain
Oh
name.
man, I'm super excited about your project with timestamps. Yeah, when can we start?
Now, let's be clear, it's not timestamping, because timestamping alone is not enough.
All right,
Single-use seals.
single-use seals, right?
Single-use seal.
We need a marshal to prove that the seal was closed.
Yeah, right. I mean,
Yeah, you basically got it right. Yeah.
And the Bitcoin time space chain is the marshal.
Proof marshal.
Go away.
what I love actually, I recently went to a notary to get something notarized, and they literally got the wax out and put the seal on there. And I just remember thinking, wow, we are into almost 2020. Like the Jetsons should be flying by now, and you're putting a wax seal on some paper.
So I would love to go through old episodes of the Jetsons to see if they ever went to a notary and there was a wax seal, because I'll bet you there would be.
That would be cool, right?
But you gotta remember, like, what a notary does is not what a lot of people think they do. A notary doesn't timestamp a document. A notary goes and looks at you deep in the eye and makes a decision. Are you being coerced into this?
Yeah.
And that's something a computer program will never be able to solve.
Right.
Oh, I could do that. The AI can recognize facial features and heartbeats and the amount of skin tension and
Okay, a computer program I could write will never be able to do that.
Yeah, but we talked about it before. You know, the artificial intelligence is pretty good at collecting massive loads of data.
Well,
and
keep in mind, there's sort of two sort of styles of that. One is the stuff where it's easy to kind of see how could have done it, but just tricky to figure out how to actually automate it. And then some of it does look a bit more magic, like trying to explain like how would a computer actually detect emotion. It boggles your mind trying to figure this out. Sure enough, the AI community,
I remember
the scandal is like they don't really understand how their own stuff works.
I remember
and they don't have any emotions either. So
after 9/11, like you had all these, companies trying to milk the teat of the state by bringing out software. And one of them was this company that wanted to be on every single airplane with a camera facing everyone that would detect if they're like stressed out. And they go, holy, this guy might be a terriblist.
Well, you notice how there's like all this controversy right now because airlines are installing seatback cameras and claiming strenuously, oh, no, it's not on. It's just from the manufacturer. No, it's no big deal. You don't have to worry about it. Of course, that means it's just one software update to make that happen.
Right. Yeah.
Will be coming in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
they
2 weeks.
couldn't take it off the tablet. It had to be attached to the tablet. And of course, if you tamper with anything on the airplane, it's a huge federal crime. Like the smoke detectors always tell us in the bathroom. It's always how scary it is.
It's also silly because that hardware is designed for airplanes. It would be trivial to go leave it off. They mass produce it, so it's trivial at the mass production level to just leave the cameras off.
Yep.
So they're lying to you. End of story. They have plans where they want to go and make the use of cameras for something.
Yeah.
Which probably advertising. Probably want to see if we're watching the ads they're showing us.
Yeah. That'd be quite likely.
Advertising. What's wrong with you? Why can't we get rid of you? Why do you want to destroy our society and our democracy and our freedom and our privacy just for advertising?
Because you want free stuff.
So I don't want to.
No, I want to go pay for my stuff.
Well,
I want
to
things
go pay
of
for
quality,
every
though.
article.
I want to
because
make
I'd rather do
choices.
that. And with Lightning, I could, but of course, there's tons of other stupid barriers because people would rather have advertising exist.
It's about choice, though. It's like if you're making your own choices, you either have to go read a bunch of research and do a bunch of stuff, or advertising tells you what to think.
Yeah. Especially nowadays, it's starting to become, it's twisting from, hey, you might want this to you will want this. The Cambridge Analytica style where they really start to...
all. Although you gotta remember, there's sort of a level of that where, for instance, like this whole bit about Russian propaganda, when you actually go look at the numbers, it was all terribly ineffective.
I don't know. I mean, it's difficult to tell how public opinion can be swayed, and not everyone said, "Oh, I voted for the Russian agent because there was a fake meetup group in my neighborhood." They don't really know that. They're like swayed by it, and they're like, "I think that Russian agent's going to be good for Russia."
A big chunk of that is probably actually within Russia, companies going and scamming the Russian government. Because when you look at what they actually did, it's so ineffective. It actually had very few impressions.
I don't know. You need a really big group to push the thing, and you need everyone pushing in the same direction.
Keep in mind, like Facebook themselves, they were caught lying about all their viewer statistics. And they were lying because then they wanted to go sell to media companies. Oh no, Facebook's the next big thing. You should pivot to video on Facebook, which all turned out to be lies.
Yeah.
And I'll bet you part of what happened with the Russia stuff is they're kind of caught up in their own lies. Is now when people are looking, it's like, hang on a second, these actually didn't get that many views. They weren't actually that widespread.
Oh, especially the Facebook marketing stuff. People did some tests where I think The Verge or someone, I don't know who did it, but someone did some great tests where they really made the most ridiculous ad that had the silliest, smallest niche in the world. I don't know, dog shoes or something. And all of a sudden, like, would boost it and would get thousands of likes.
Yeah.
And then they were like and it was still from weird little obscure countries. And this was after Facebook apparently banned, these click farms and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, it's just a big conflict of interest. I mean, Facebook has every reason to want these click farms to be able to make it look like their service actually reaches people.
Yeah.
But you see, the thing is that, I mean, we have this with like Twitter bots, right? And the XRP army just chilling their shit. Does it work? Well, it might work on stupid people, but like if you do a tiny bit of research, you will figure it out, right?
Well, the most effective scam there that makes the most money is not the XRP bots going in like selling XRP. The effective scam is people selling the XRP bots. That's where you can go make some money.
Yep.
Sell the shovels. There we go.
I thought those Ethereum bots did pretty well for a while. They're like, please send me Ethereum, or remember it would reply in everyone's name.
Well, all right. So pure scam like that, I mean, part of why it works is it's just relatively cheap to do.
Yeah.
And you could tell looking at the blockchain stuff that it looked like people had done, put money in there. Now that could of course be a bit of fakery too, but there's likely some people fell for it, and the price it's so cheap to do that.
A wise man once said to me, if you give a man a sock puppet, he can scam for one day. But if you show the man and his people how to create the sock puppets, then they can scam for eternity.
Beautiful story. The entire country of Nigeria, big fans.
Your wise man is terrible.
I was actually surprised. I had my first Telegram imposter sock puppet. Just like changed it. I had Twitter before, but Telegram, that was the first for me.
Was it like Max Hillebrand 1 or something like that?
No, it was like it was actually a good one. Instead of a lowercase L, it was an uppercase I.
Oh, that's solid.
It was actually very
there's some
solid.
tricky ones that actually are strange characters that no one ever uses, and they really look. That's amazing. Yeah, a friend of mine got scammed for some crypto because he needed some help, and he was on a Discord, and that person then said, "Oh, well, let me log in." Like, I was like, "What? You don't let anyone log in? What are you doing, man?"
Unicode's a security disaster.
Yeah, Unicode, right?
Yeah.
It really is.
It's strange because Unicode. There's a lot of good things about it, but because of that, for security, it winds up being a disaster. And in nearly any protocol where security matters, the sane thing to do by default is actually disable Unicode.
Yeah, crazy.
Sad but true.
So we have a question for Peter from the chat here.
Uh-oh.
Says, what are your thoughts on mitigations for legal fungibility attacks like first in, first out that taint the first out UTXOs of, quote, dirty coins?
Well, I mean, part of the problem there is like the tech can only ever go so far. This is not really a technical question. It's actually kind of a political question. What's the right way to maneuver the tech to defeat these attacks? And some people might go say, well, maybe make things more fungible, maybe make them less, maybe make it that spreads the taint faster, maybe isolate it. It's a very hard thing to answer. And it seems to be usually the right answer there is things where you can spend money faster before any taint could ever be tracked. Lightning is, of course, very good at this because very little data kind of passes around.
Yeah.
But there's no easy answer for any of this.
So if the government decides all the coins that ever touch the Silk Road are bad, and I end up with one of them because I sold something or bought something or something happened, you're saying the best thing we could do is spend the coins faster. If I'm holding on to my collector's edition Silk Road coins, more people could then label it as a bad coin. The bad coin list could spread. The idea of the bad coin list could spread.
But you see, the beautiful thing is, Honey Badger don't give a shit because you will be able to spend that transaction, right? The miner will mine it, giving that you pay the fee, and the fee is the only thing that provides a censorship resistance.
What if the program
question
checks
is,
for a bad list before it says complete and sends me?
Then
my
you pay a
list?
higher fee.
You want to jump
If you're
in?
in that scenario, chances are you're screwed anyway.
Josh, you got to run back to the live stream.
Yeah, I've got another 5 minutes, but yeah, I'll stay around for another. But this is very, very interesting. Yeah, I think Lightning really goes a long way to helping this out, and I think fungibility software, I guess mixing softwares and things like this, like SKYPE wallet.
I mean, it's always important to remember there are limitations, and I think China is an example showing this, where if you truly want to go and be totalitarian and you have no respect for human rights, it's very easy to say, all right, we're going to whitelist things. Now you can only send unencrypted data that we can detect what's going on.
Yeah.
And at that point, you're screwed.
Yeah. Is there a community of Lightning Network users in China?
They're everywhere.
There very likely is, but the point is that the government wants it to not be. It'd be trivial to turn off because China's internet is so locked down that sending encrypted data is genuinely hard. And it's not like, you send it, then they blacklist something. Rather, it can automatically say, all right, we can't see what that is, thus we will drop the packet.
Which is pretty much the way you want a government network to run. Like if the internet had been designed that way in the first place, government would have total control over all of our communications, and I think they'd like it.
But remember, the government did design the internet. It's just in the U.S. there are rights, and
they designed it for military uses, like the highways. The highways work great for landing airplanes. They're also good to drive cars on.
That's a myth.
No, actually, like the highway, the German Autobahn was invaded by
but yeah, U.S. wasn't designed that way.
No,
I don't know. There's like some things true.
You just want to be in Poland really quickly.
No, I always stuff the U.S. like it's just pretty sane. We should be able to move goods around the country cheaply, which is useful for military.
All right, I better go.
All right, Josh, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll be back some other time.
Tell them again about Vaultoro.
Yeah, check out Vaultoro. That's Vault, like a gold vault, and Oro, as in Spanish for gold. Little language lesson there for you.
Trade your Bitcoins for gold. You can hold some of your Bitcoins in gold to hedge the price of Bitcoin. If Bitcoin goes down, you'll still have gold. If Bitcoin goes up, you'll still have gold. So.
And it's fully audited and fully insured, not like...
Yeah, there it is. Thank you, Josh.
All right.
I'll be also back in just a second.
And check out the Banks of the Future campaign, equity crowdfunding right there.
Yeah. And we got a great live stream going on in the other room. Josh is going to get that going for us. See you, Josh.
See you, Josh.
Oh, you want that big one should be, or just, I don't know.
Yeah, so like
the other one. It should
continuing
be
on from that. It's everything's super cool here and everyone's really positive and optimistic. Some people put all of their hopes for the future of Bitcoin on Lightning. But what's the worst we've seen so far? Have we seen like outright scams? Have we seen unethical behaviors? Have we seen actions with unclear intents?
I mean, for Lightning specifically, I haven't heard of anything actually, quote unquote, bad getting paid with it. I mean, I'm sure someone has, but it's just like any other technology.
We did talk to Jack from the Zap wallet. He was in here earlier, and what he said is he was really interested to find that the Zap desktop wallet was more popular than the app wallet. And what he specifically found, and I'm not ratting these people out or anything, seems like public knowledge. He said it 10 minutes ago, but in the Middle East, people don't want to install an app because you have to trade your information for it. So now they know that you've installed a Bitcoin wallet or a Lightning wallet. So they'll use this desktop wallet, which I assume it's a web client or something. You don't have to download anything. And incredibly popular in the Middle East. So people are using it, and mainly probably just to have their savings and have something the government can't take. Probably nothing really illicit or bad, but Middle East raises a flag everywhere.
And Middle East is kind of interesting in that regard, that the governments there are bad, but they're not as effectively bad as, say, China, where they're working with technology to really clamp down. Middle East, it seems more that you may be against the governments, but their ability to go censor you, to track you, and so on is ineffective.
In quite a brute force way. So like 60% of the internet went down in Egypt last week. Baghdad, there's like a curfews at the moment, and there's also like spotty internet. So obviously it's limiting people's ability to organize straightforwardly until they figure out that there's a whole bunch of tools that they can use to do that another way.
Getting more fun questions in the chat. Luke says, is Mike Hearn's disciple Blue Matt a CIA plant? And will his rage quit mark the bottom? So I'm not sure that Blue Matt has rage quit. I've heard that he got a job with Cash App,
Square Crypto.
Cash App.
Yeah, Blue Matt's doing tons of Bitcoin work. That's no rage quit.
No,
Yeah,
just like he was
yeah.
speaking at the conference we held at MIT 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, so I think he's okay. Now Mike Hearn
Yeah,
did
he's
rage
involved.
quit. That was a big famous rage quit. That might have been the bottom. And then I know it went up after that, and he works for R3 or did or might or something.
Let's be clear, in the long run, Bitcoin's going to zero and we're all going to die. So one day there'll be
one of those
more
things.
deeper bottom.
One of those things is true.
You just got to wait long enough for your thesis to be proven correct, right? That's what this is all about.
Yeah.
Some people
Question is, will it live long enough for it to be proven correct?
Some people are looking on the kind of geological timescales, cosmological timescales.
Yeah, eventually, the sun's going to supernova and burn up all the plants. So that would be the end of Bitcoin, I think.
But for the next 10 years, maybe that's the bottom.
Maybe the next 10 years. Yeah. No, good question though. Yeah, I've not really met Blue Matt, but I've seen him some meetups. Seems cool. I'm sure he's cool.
I don't know. I find he's a total scam, really. Because when you look at his hair, it's usually not blue enough.
It isn't very blue anymore. It was a good descriptor when he was Blue Matt, and they're like, "Oh, which one's Blue Matt?" And it's like, "Oh, the one over there with the blue hair." But no, I think he has blonde hair now. Something I don't know. Saw him in a picture with Jack Dorsey on Twitter. Nice. Then they said later they're gonna auction off Jack's sandals so you could buy the shoes that he took the walk with.
Celebrity culture.
I know it was a little tough. And then of course somebody else was like, "Oh, I want to buy the sandals because Jack must have the best taste in sandals." And he linked us to some kind of natural shop where you could get the Jack Dorsey Twitter sandals.
Well, but that's buying another copy of it's not the ones that he wore. So
have you heard about mass manufacturing? Like if he wore one, I could probably buy another that's basically the same, but with less smell.
And I could tell people that I wear the same ones.
Sentimental
Right?
value,
Like these shoes, this is like the third pair I bought of exactly the same shoes because they work.
Oh,
So
you're lucky they don't change them every year. These are a new variation of the shoes, and I preferred the old variations.
Well, they've changed the color on me once. Well, it's actually twice now, which annoyed me, but it's still.
It looks like they have good traction. I keep falling, man. I hate Europe. Like there's all these like cobblestones, and then it rains, and then you're trying to catch an Uber and you slip. Or one time we were in that crazy salt mine, and there's all these salt on these stupid wooden staircase, and I slipped, and I almost died twice so far in Europe. We said, "Come on in, guys, come on in." All right, well, come in for a minute.
it's always better when places are just like featureless deserts and everything's dead and there's no.
You can't fall in space. That's why we're going to the moon.
You can't fall in space. Dude, that's going to change everything for me. I'm usually pretty good at walking around, but no, not lately. And I don't know, these shoes, they seem like they have good traction, but they're not on cobblestones that are
Just
wet.
be thankful you're not wearing high heels. They're very hard to navigate in heels.
Time.
You would know.
Actually,
I observe things.
there's a gentleman here enjoying his high heels. And again, more power to him or her or Z or Zay or them or it or whatever it is. But that's cool. Respect.
Sure, they're a lot better at them than I am.
Dude, he was rocking them. He had no problems. But it was a bit of a Mr. Garrison look where, bald head, wanting to be a woman. It's a bit a strange choice. But again, people can make their own choices. Like it's really
whatever makes people happy. It's probably for the best overall.
So
I would say.
Let's see. Luke is agreeing with us in the chat. He says, "It's not the fall that kills you. It's the sudden stop at the end." So.
Yeah, I find that to be an accurate statement. It's why we should cover everything with foam.
The whole world would be safer.
Yeah.
Although what they're really going to do, they had these great demolition men. They filled the car full of foam when they crashed. So it wasn't like an airbag. It was like a giant foam bag. It was like, it was everywhere. And all you have to do is wear a suit like that, where if you fall, because recently they updated the new iPhone. If you fall, it'll automatically call 911. It'll be like you fell. And then they updated the new Google Android phone. If you want this feature, if your car is suddenly moving very quickly and then suddenly moving slowly, Google will just call the police. They'll be like, "You must have crashed. I'm going to get help."
No, be clear. The implementation I've seen a video of it, and it looks like it's actually half decent, or at least it gives a couple seconds to not call the police.
Yeah. To get a chance.
You didn't actually stop that fast.
Wait, does Google also provide police subcontracting services, because then Google could just talk to itself and be like,
Depending
here's
on-
some data. Oh, thanks. Oh,
You're in a third world country. You'd rather have this information. You'd rather not call the police. Here's a private service. Like private security from Google is on its way. Ding. Yeah. Luke says drag for anonymity, Hackman style. That's probably why the guy dressed up. It's like an anonymous choice. We had some exciting things happen in the room. I try to keep you guys updated of what's been going on. Apparently, and again, this is shocking to me, there were 3, maybe even brand new iPads that were left in a cardboard box that are no longer here. They left them here overnight, whereas I packed up all of my gear and took it home with me. Then I brought it back. All of my gear is still here. Whatever the nonsense they left in this room is gone.
Yeah, leaving electronics around in insecure places.
Yeah,
can end kind
really.
of badly. It's interesting, like how insecure so much of this stuff is, because manufacturers, they leave ports on, where at the very last step in manufacturing, they plug a special thing in and they rewrite the firmware. Well, they don't turn that off.
So you can just get right in. You don't need to reset them or anything.
Showdown is terrifying.
They already come like they don't link the credit card to the iPad. You don't have to the credit card that you bought with, please insert now.
So some of that stuff's changing. Like you see for quote unquote warranty reasons, and pushing to have credit card terminals scan in the serial numbers of your purchases, the actual devices at the very last step. In some countries, they ask you to register your phone, but register the actual number on it the moment you go purchase it.
Sounds pretty cool.
I still think the gold star for the moment goes to Kazakhstan and their certificate authority. You know about this? I think everyone just has to download a certificate from the government and install that.
Yep.
And so then you can browse safely and securely alongside the government.
Yeah.
Wow, that's magical.
It can hold your hand.
It's a great example of the limitations of sort of the cypherpunk approach. If the government's willing to do that, you're screwed.
Yeah, and so other kind of macro attacks like Bordergate Protocol or Eclipse attacks and ISP infrastructure.
Ultimately, what comes down to the cypherpunk stuff is to make sure you hold on to your freedom enough to prevent that becoming political reality. But once you're there, technology itself is not going to solve that problem.
No, it's inherently an asymmetric position. You're it's like the framing of the second realm in that sense, because you aren't going to win this a battle. You're just kind of conducting some guerrilla activity in some parallel world.
Well, like you were saying with the encryption, if you send encrypted messages on China, they go right away and they're like, oh, that's encrypted. The same way, if there was no internet or if it was all controlled and you start doing a mesh network, it's pretty easy for them to put some signal sensor to find your mesh network. And it's obviously the illegal signal if everything else is legal signals.
No, this tech exists and it works. And, again, what it says is there's no magical way to fight back once they have that much power. You really got to hope that people around you go and invade, for instance. That may be your best outcome in a situation like that.
The last thing is left is everyone goes out onto the street until something changes.
Yeah. And your problem too with protests and situations like that is with modern tech, you may not matter. You may not be a cog in the economic machine in the sense that you say not working matters to the government.
Well, if we talk about the Middle East, there's actually this huge structural problem with the governments, and it's related to subsidies for people to have kids. So the population is skewed very young. As a result, most people are kind of living at the behest of the state, essentially, they're suckling on very limited state provisions. Young families, young people unemployed.
And there's in many of these countries, there's very little economy other than certain sectors. And that's, it's always a recipe for essentially people not mattering, which is never good for freedom.
Yeah, then a fruit vendor will set himself on fire and then, people get angry again and something will happen.
Very rosy and exciting picture for
Bitcoin fixes this.
Yeah, Bitcoin fixes
this.
Right?
Yes, immediately fixes it.
Yeah, it fixes it so I can go hire my private mercenary to invade Kazakhstan.
So I'll be in my citadel while that's happening, and I don't care because Bitcoin fixed it for me.
You have to save it up. So Wassim, have you seen anything cool on the Lightning Network here? Have you seen them put Lightning into a thing and make something come out?
Yeah, so on the top floor, there's kind of a bit of a demo space near the second stage. And so Ben, BTC Socialist, who's milling around, was getting his little e-ink receiving
Yeah, he's got a
device, little IoT
box,
device,
it'll
those
turn into a
M5
QR
things.
code, or
Yeah.
you could read a small ebook on
So you can
it,
generate an
something like that.
invoice, and then it's e-ink screen, which is persistent. So you can just carry that around till you get paid, and then you can plug it back in and get another invoice.
I
And
think Room 77 they were using that
yeah,
machine.
I think it's
Ben
his. He
built
built
it
it, I think.
for them, yeah.
And so then the next step is to use something like LNURL to be able to make like persistent invoices and stuff like that. So that's quite nice. There's the kind of the mock-up of the birdcage with the seeds thing up there, and a few other bits of
I
nonsense.
gotta admit, for sheer cuteness factor, I really liked the lightning bubble machine.
Mhm.
Go
Yeah,
pay,
bubble
you
machine
know,
was really
a
good.
cent or two, and then bubbles come out.
Yeah, and that was
a-
really a fast, easy demonstration. The bubbles were right there; they were everywhere. All of a sudden,
Yeah, it's a bubble and it's filled with vaporware, right?
it's a bubble.
Oh, but you know, and I also got a point. Like, I did go buy this HTC Exodus phone for them for like $250, and it just worked.
Mhm.
And of course, I had to have a channel open that could send that much in one go. But once I had that, it worked first try. When you think about it, too, the funny thing is, me opening that channel took just as long as an on-chain transaction would have anyway. The only difference being I was the one waiting to be in a position where I could confirm instantly rather than paying and then waiting for them to then give me it.
The difference between push and pull, you could say.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, sort of like I'm the one getting myself a position, then pay instantly.
So it's getting better all the time. Let's see what they say in the chat. Zezo says, that's why I don't have a smartphone. I'm waiting for the new iFax mobile phone. I was just seeing something lately. It was some the sci-fi book. They're like just how fax machines hung around so long. And I was like, yeah, that's interesting the way faxes are still kind of around. And a lot of people do like it. You can send a piece of paper pretty securely, point to point. You don't have to use a third party like the internet.
You mean a third party like the telephone company?
The telephone company's there, but I just think they're a lot busier monitoring the internet.
They're a trusted telephone company.
Yeah.
I can assure you, every fax you've ever sent, if you were a target, is being intercepted.
Whoa! Stop using the fax machines.
Yeah, I've got a question. If we're talking about like iFax, I don't know what iFax is, but have you looked much into, like, you know, Pine 64s, Rocked, and so on, the single board computers? Have you looked at the Pine books and the Pine phones, the laptops and the mobiles they want to build from them?
A little bit. I gotta admit, I'm kind of addicted to ThinkPad keyboards. So that even using any other type of keyboard, like on my desktop computer, I have a standalone ThinkPad keyboard.
I hate this keyboard so much.
Yeah,
it's the worst.
If it's not a ThinkPad keyboard, I'm just not willing to do it. But I could probably go make a case with 3D printing these days, shoehorn it in, and make a computer that's completely unrelated to that. Indeed, yeah, Bunny
nice
from
thing
like
is,
Bunny Studios, he did this.
I think they also want to put some, like the Purism did, to put switches, hardware switches in for radios and
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a thing that needs to happen more. And it's funny, like you always see people covering up the cameras.
Yeah.
When in reality, it's probably actually the microphones that are the more scary thing. I mean, I personally, I assume my phone is going in listening. And
we have Alexa at home, so we know she's listening.
Yeah.
But it's part of the fun. You have this computer house. You can say, Alexa, play some music, and she does. It's, I mean,
I think
like
I'd be happy with the.
Well, the sad thing is, it doesn't need to work that way. I mean, Alexa certainly could work locally with a local AI database. I mean, the tech to do this exists, and it works pretty well.
Limited permissions, hook up to a couple of APIs for web services, and
yeah. I mean, there's nothing stopping them from doing
they could
this other than marketing.
traffic with
somebody will do
traffic.
a non-panopticon flavored one.
It's funny though, because the audience for it are the people who are exactly afraid of this panopticon. So you're essentially saying to them, like, it's okay, you can trust our panopticon. And even if you had it, like you're saying, all the offline stuff and it was signed open source, we could all see it, they'd be like, no, I don't trust it.
It'll be
So
you have to be choose your own panopticon.
It's really tough.
Choose your own.
For
design your own
to
panopticon.
sell. Yeah.
I mean, the more pragmatic thing is you got to remember, hardware isn't magic. There are things that it does, it has capability to do. There are ways to defeat that. You know, if I don't want my phone to say, listen to me typing in my password, which incidentally is a very real attack. You absolutely can recover passwords from audio. I go put my phone in a drawer and then turn on a white noise generator. It works. Like, I know it works because hardware isn't magic.
I mean,
you
you've
can't
seen
magically
the papers
record
where
that.
they decode spoken phrases from vibrations in Windows.
Well,
Yeah,
I've seen this
heard
firsthand
that,
in a lab, actually, and
Okay.
it was to record mating calls of very obscure species of cockroach.
Nice.
And the easiest way to do it was fire a laser onto the cockroach's shell and then get the return signal back to then figure out how the mating call worked. Yeah, it's totally off-the-shelf equipment. Very, very easy to set up if you're willing to pay like $5,000.
That's great. We've got a couple more questions. Let's see. Luke says that Peter is right. Democracy and liberal government are an artifact of humans being a useful tax resource, and that AI will end this. So there you go. You have a supporter.
I don't think he's wrong.
Well, I don't know. Again, it's all these huge drastic changes, and I know the libertarians are just very excited for them, and I'm more on the side like, if we wreck everything, everything's going to be wrecked. Like everything that works good now, and again, we don't like it, and I don't have to be a garbage man or whatever, but somebody's got to pick up the garbage and get it out of
at
here.
some
You know,
point,
we got
if
a lot
we
of
invent the
jobs.
Borg, from the point of view of the Borg,
Yeah.
humans will be the way we think of ants. But
It's a
from
net
the
good
point of
for
view
the
of me,
universe.
that's not good.
Yeah.
Is
Pets,
it
not meat.
The
Yeah.
question is it net good for the universe?
Does the universe care?
Does the amount of entropy increase in the universe or not?
Does not increase.
I don't know if physics has answers that one yet. Not in the long run. Certainly in the short run.
Yeah, well, yeah, but in the short term, the universe is a voting machine, and in the long term, the universe is a weighing machine.
Well, there is
See,
a,
there
like
it
a
is.
definition
That's
of
the same.
time that's kind of related to entropy, because like every physical process, with some exceptions that make this explanation kind of bullshit, but other than that bit, every physical process can work in both directions. But it looks like it works in one direction because entropy.
Yes, the arrow of time.
Yeah. And thus, entropy is really about the boundary state of the universe, which is started off perfect and then we ruined it.
Unless there's an asymptote running through C, and then you've got like the tachyons and all the other like faster than light stuff, and everything's happening backwards through there.
Well, it'd really suck if at the very end, like the Big Bang happened again, because that meant there'd be an infinite number of us on couches over the entire like whole time sphere chain thing, making these same inane points.
It's like slightly different variations of them.
The Burning Man theme this year is the multiverse. I don't know that I'm going to be able to get tickets again, but I do like the theme.
Is that so they could multiply the price by five extra dimensions?
Sure, and they can add more people in because now it's a variation of how many people there really are.
Sounds like someone was a bit too excited for the new Rick and Morty season.
Oh, I know. 5 episodes. That's all you get for now. So we got a couple more interesting questions. This is a pretty deep one here. Luke says, where would each of you, we all get to answer, build your ideal citadel? So first, this idea has been coming around that first I thought it was going to be a spaceship. I've been saving up like the 1 Bitcoin or whatever it is so I can get on the spaceship so I can get out of here, right? That's been my plan. But now they're saying apparently they're going to build citadels. So they're going to build large Bitcoin cities where Bitcoiners can be safe from non-coiners who eventually at this point will probably have pikes and swords and spears, and they'll be killing any Bitcoiner they find. So obviously the Bitcoiners have to hide. They have to separate themselves. They have to build citadels. And now for this example, we're each building our own citadel.
So the problem with a spaceship is ultimately space pirates mining Bitcoin, which, as I proved in my Breaking Bitcoin talk, completely destroys Bitcoin's security model by having potential to have people mining in places at too high latency to maintain consensus.
But they have to be like within a, light only travels so far in.
Yeah, they have to be pretty
And that's the
close.
problem, because if I build my citadel out in space and that incentivizes the ability for people to live in space, they'll go move close to the sun where there's more solar power, then start mining Bitcoin there, then destroying Bitcoin for...
Oh, so you want to shift the actual center of gravity of the network away from Earth?
Oh, it's not that I want to. It will happen if we have space pirates mining Bitcoin. It's a serious problem.
Yeah,
sure. First, we have to have space pirates.
Well, that's what your Bitcoin space citadel is going to do. You're basically going to be space pirates.
So if we can't have a space citadel, I started to think about geographic locations. Of course, I thought Amsterdam's cool. but the sea is right there.
but you
It's gonna
can't.
come
No, I mean,
down.
like it's all below sea
like,
level.
Yeah, it's all below sea. It's a bad
Hang
long
on, but
distance plan.
aren't you like Bitcoiners denying global warming? Or are you one of those weird Bitcoiners who's sane?
I'm the weird Bitcoiner who believes in science still, and the consensus of the consensus. But so then you think, okay, California, that's all going to be underwater. Earthquake, that's your Oregon, Washington, that's cut off.
Well, no,
mountains.
California's fine. It's
Yeah.
Florida that's screwed.
Florida's screwed.
Mountains and caves. I think that's the way.
Mountains and caves.
Like we already got the kind of the meat
Underground
thing.
Underground
meat
is
thing is
strong.
compatible
yeah.
with
Well,
that.
we did, visit a salt mine in Romania. And
Uh-huh.
the
We
great thing
just
about
went.
yeah, and the great thing about that is all this delicious salt or Twitter conversations.
So you can like go out and hunt and prey on animals. You can cure them with the salt from the.
There you go. You'd be
You
ready.
have salt for your tweets as well.
Also, the
yeah.
salt in the air is supposed to be good for your whole system. Everything's supposed to be.
Yeah, no, it's sufficiently salty. It just kills basically any life that
Can
isn't big.
I build mine on top of the baths in Budapest? Like the baths are pretty cool. It has thermal water.
I've been
I
there,
like that. So that's a thing we'd need. But we could probably generate that. We probably don't necessarily have to build it like. Because I'm just picturing you drop your walls around.
They had ping pong tables and an amphitheater and the billiard tables at the bottom of their mine.
I mean, it's the second salt mine I've been to. And the first one is Colombia. It was so beautiful. It was a Catholic church that had kind of come up as the miners who were Catholic, of course, create little sanctuaries, whatever they call it. Just a wonderful, stunning place. You look at the glory of God, this, 50-meter high cross. And then the Romanian one feels like, well, salt mines are pretty cool. We're salt miners. We really like salt mines.
Have you heard of communism?
And then it's like, well, you know what? Now that we've got a big cavern, what on earth are we going to put it there? Because I guess we're not religious or something. I don't know.
Amusement parks, rides,
bowling. Yeah,
bowling.
There's nothing you can eat down there. Like, come on, it's total failure.
Oh, we ate outside, and the food came unsalted. And
there was no bar. I was like, all right, you got me into your salt mine. Where's the goddamn bar?
Yeah.
And no, there was no bar.
Yeah, like at least this Catholic one, after you were done looking at the glory of God, then you could go off to the gift shops, which were filled with really tacky plastic Jesuses in really good food.
I got a gift shop item. I got a salt shaker from the salt mine. It was right there. I had to do it.
Is the shaker also made of salt?
Oh, I wish. It has a little picture of the salt mine on it, though, so I'll always remember the salt mine where I got the salt shaker. So that's good to have.
I went to the Salar de Uyuni, the gigantic salt flats in Bolivia a few years ago. I took just just salt everywhere. So I took a big hunk of salt and I had it in my hand luggage as I was going through an airport. And they were like, as they searched my bag, they put this gigantic salt crystal, like, a rock, like, size of your head. And they were like, okay, est. And I was like, oh, it's Salar, it's sal, it's salt. And they were like, oh, yeah.
Oh, they wish it was something else. Yeah, it was funny when I was driving out to Colorado. I got to Utah and the Bonneville Salt Flats, and it's just everything's all brown and green, and then all of a sudden everything's white, and you think it's snow. And I was by myself, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna pull over, and you're walking on it, and it's all cracking, and you pick it up, and of course, idiot human, taste it. It's salt. Like it's all salt. There's like endless field of salt. It's very, very strange.
Well, given this is the Bonneville Salt Flats, you're lucky you didn't pick it up and taste a motor oil.
Oh, I know. I'm sure it was not very clean, and I was regretting it afterwards. I quickly had some Mountain Dew, because I was driving cross country with my giant bottle of 2-liter Mountain Dew in one hand and the wheel in the other, and
I ended up in quite a weird spot the other week in California. I was driving around near Joshua Tree.
Yeah.
Do you know about Salton Sea?
I've seen the movie.
Yeah, the unintentional sea. Yeah, so I ended up there. I was like, what's this doing here? And I looked and I was like, oh, it's this.
I hear it smells really awful.
It smells bad, yeah. And there's also a kind of fake town. There's a big US military thing somewhere around there. And they built this big installation for simulated desert combat that they called Mecca. So, just to keep it.
Just very familiar, yeah.
So I got to Mecca. I was like,
kind of place.
I went to Mecca after all, Mum.
No, but that was a cool, crazy story with the Salton Sea. It was supposed to be a place for people to live, residential, and they had all the water and everything. And then I think it turned bad. I think the smell, and then people stopped moving there, and then it just.
I think the water also congregated in different areas than they expected, so it got swampy rather than.
Yeah, it did get swampy and lakey. Yeah, it's another one of those failures of the 50s of people who used to dream about making a better future would always try these kind of things, and sometimes fail horribly.
That sounds familiar. Make the world a better place with
I don't think we do it
chains of
anymore.
blocks.
Yeah.
Make the world a better place with plastics.
I love that movie too. It's totally out of date now because everyone's fighting. Even plastic straws have to go away now. But the guy in The Graduate, he's like, "Let me tell you one word about your future, son. Plastics." And he was right, making oil-based plasticky things. And then if you look around, everyone at home, you should try to drink out of glass jars if you can. If you look at something that you're drinking out of that's plastic, or you're storing your food in plastic, you have to think about how long we've done that and how long it takes for the plastic to like leach into your food versus
Depends
how long
on the type of plastic.
How long we've had things in glass. Like, we've been using glass a long time. I think you can trust glass a lot better. Like, you don't want to make short-term decisions with your water drinking and food storage solutions.
Are you saying that glass is low time preference and therefore like it will usher in a new civilization, a belle epoch of sound money and Austrian ideals? Is that what you're saying, Thomas?
I think what he's trying to say is that we should base all our money on little glass beads, which is a pretty old idea. And unfortunately, they're kind of inflationary.
You also want to watch out for those lead-lined pipes. The Romans thought they were really sharp, bringing all that irrigation and all the water into their houses, and then lead-lined pipes made them all go crazy. The plates they were eating on also lead. So yeah, you just got to keep an eye on what you're eating and drinking out of. That's all I'm saying.
You know, I totally believe you. It's why the only thing I eat or drink is blood directly from animals. You know, that's the most natural container you can get. Just like bite into it.
Tell me, Peter, have your dietary preferences changed since you visited Transylvania recently?
You know, this is a recent thing.
Fang marks on your neck, yeah. Staying up more at night. Can't see myself in a mirror anymore.
Yeah.
All pretty normal.
Plus, like a whole bunch of Romanians who just like stare at me like, you realize like that's just dumb. It's, you know, an American-made story.
One of us.
But yes, of course we'll help you find a place to stay in the winters here.
Winters are very mild in Transylvania.
Compared to Canada, yeah.
Oh, I hear Canadian pussy's awful cold. But yeah, they say in the chat that we should grow hemp, and that glass bead money is a silicon O2.
Well, I mean, like the glass beads made sense. You know, when your sort of Dunbar number or your society's perspective is limited. If it's locally scarce, it can function on a short range, and then it gets arbitraged out by some passing Portuguese traders or whatever. Look at gold. I mean, gold is great in some ways, but where's all the gold on the planet? It's in the ocean. So when we have the technology, we'll get it out. Or
the gold on the planet's in the core of the planet.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's all over the place. It's not, I mean, so it's
if
only...
you took all the gold on Earth and extracted and stuck it as a nice continuous band covering the Earth, apparently the number would be about 1.5 meters thick, covering the entire planet. So let's just hope no one's like gets really good at deep mining. Really deep mining.
Mega fracking.
Yeah,
ultra fracking for gold.
Once again, we're always trying to destroy the whole planet just to get the resources. And
well, I mean, like going to space would also make sense as well. I mean, like some countries are already positioning themselves to do that. So it's nice to go then to something that can be thought of as universally or algorithmically scarce.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Like with gold specifically, we do have an example of a new supply of gold being found and destroying an economy, which is, of course, when they plundered the Aztec gold and brought it back, it completely screwed up the economy.
Sure. That's why when you see those headline articles, people saying, we're going to go to space and bring back $6 trillion worth of gold. I'm like, are you sure that's still going to be worth the same after you get back with it all?
I think we can get an asteroid, and I think we can get it to orbit the Earth. And then I think we can just mine the asteroid till we get all the gold.
I really hope you don't miss.
It's worth it. Just gonna get a lot of gold.
Hit the Earth with your asteroid.
Round and round and closer and closer and closer.
That makes it even easier because then the gold is right there on Earth. And it burns out like most of the asteroid, hits some kind of town or something. Send them some.
Well, so in Ontario, of course, we have the Sudbury, which is actually the remains of asteroid impact. Nice. Although what's actually happened is not that the asteroid brought the metal, but rather when it hit so hard it then let magma upwell. And then what we're actually mining is the magma, not the asteroid.
So it sounds recreatable.
Yeah, just get
You
it,
just need to get another asteroid, hit the
Yeah.
ground, magma comes out, and then boom, stuff to mine.
just get a big enough a nuclear weapon or something and get a
Hey
volcano
guys, there's
going.
some pennies in front of steamrollers out there. Should we go and pick them?
Yeah.
We should try it on Mars too, try it on other planets, like just hit them with it, see what happens. Like we did with the rover.
Well, those were but blemishes.
We're always tossing metal things at other planets to see what happens to
I
them.
mean, there is quite a lot of junk around Earth that we put there.
We
Surprise,
should go get
surprise.
it. Yeah.
And like people are going to get the idea to, like, you know, we're an externality engine, like our species. Yeah, we're looking out in space, this kind of beautiful empty thing that we live near, and we must be thinking, oh, can't we just get rid of some of our problems after this like nearby interstellar medium?
I mean, it's not a bad idea if it's cheap enough. The only problem there, of course, is it takes quite a bit of effort to get things in escape velocity. You know, escape velocity is kind of fast.
Mm-hmm.
And a fun one is, so if you work out the equivalent kinetic energy of an object in low Earth orbit, it's as though it were made of basically gasoline. And so, like, imagine something that big made of pure gasoline burning completely. That is how much energy you needed to get that, which also explains why when they hit atmosphere on deorbit, they burn up.
We've got a question from the chat. They say, what do you guys think about Elon going to Mars in the next year? The next year sounds really fast. I
That's not
heard.
happening.
Yeah, I haven't
Not
heard
next
that it
year.
was on such a timeline there.
No.
Maybe they're hyping it, or they're doing an announcement.
I don't think Elon has said anything remotely.
Yeah, and I don't
that.
think he would.
I think that may
personally,
have been
yeah.
John McAfee that said that. Not
Yeah,
Elon.
Yeah, there we go.
Now, John McAfee going to Mars. I mean, this sounds like it might be better for the Earth.
I think he was already on the ship when we spoke to him last weekend in Romania.
You'd do it. You would do it too.
I did like your reference to Moby Dick
Oh yeah.
in
Yeah,
introducing McAfee.
Well, after you've introduced someone so much, there's nothing else you can do. He's like, has wooden teeth, chased Moby Dick.
Especially when they need no introduction.
Yeah, that was a classic. No one got it, but that's a Johnny Carson thing that I stole.
I didn't get it, but after a while,
I'm 1,000 years old and I remember things. So in I think it was 1988, but I saw the clip later. But Bill Clinton, then governor of Arkansas, was introduced on Johnny Carson, and no one knew who he was at the time. So this was even funnier. And Johnny Carson, before the Wikipedia, he's pretty much reading the Wikipedia about Bill Clinton. And it was just so funny because he kept going with all these things. He's like, and he was the founder of the Arkansas Literacy Project. And he did the local government plan linking Arkansas with its 3 neighbor states. A man who needs no introduction. And then he would say another fact about Arkansas and how backwards and stupid it was. And Clinton comes out there just red-faced from laughing. Carson just had him, and he was just cracking up. And then he's like, how you doing, governor? And we'll be right back. It was something like that. It was just a beautiful Carson bit, and he just had this political thing, and he made it so funny. And then, I definitely stole that for McAfee.
Are you telling me that you're just made up of 70s reruns?
I'm entirely made up of recycled material. Eventually, they'll analyze all the things I say, and they'll be like, that's from that movie. That's from that movie, stitched together with an idea from that book. And it just gets really...
You'll just have to pay from YouTube. Will just monetize plagiarism to the point where they'll just be like, yeah, that's from the 70s, that's from the 60s, that's from the Teen Star.
But they need to take it the other way and get me paid for the references. They're like, oh, he snuck another reference in there. That's 25 cents from the movie company.
We could pay that with Lightning.
They could do it here, but I don't know. The Lightning people don't seem to want to come on camera or talk about their projects. It's very strange.
Well, yeah, to be clear, I'm not a Lightning dev.
No, I know you're not.
I
That's
just
why
play
you're
a
here.
dev on TV.
Yeah. If you were a Lightning dev, you wouldn't be here. But let's see. They're saying
if you were a Lightning dev, you'd be home by now.
They're talking about NASA in the chat. They're interested in SETI, but no, they're not. I like
Search
that.
for extraterrestrial life.
I like that movie.
That's
Contact.
obsoleted by Bitcoin mining.
Contact was a cool movie. I like Contact.
Yeah, I looked into folding at home 10 years ago when I was writing my PhD thesis as a way to, because I was trying to solve these kind of complex arrangements of molecular assemblies, which are a bit like folding proteins. And I thought maybe we could steal other people's computing power to do it for ourselves instead of using our cluster. So I looked at folding at home, and then there was a folding coin for a while, and I don't hear about that so much anymore.
Yeah, it unfortunately, it is a very bad idea because you need proof of work to be uniformly costly for everyone. The moment like some research gets an advantage, that
The idea,
breaks it.
this useful or reusable or repurposable work does seem to keep coming back again and again. Maybe it's more of an academic curiosity than anything else.
I think it's like any space where you can go make money by creating a new coin. You want a marketing angle for your new coin, and that is a plausible marketing angle. So of course people are going to keep doing this.
Mm-hmm.
I just know I used to go after all that stuff. I would mine prime numbers. I looked for extraterrestrial life with SETI. I had BOINC, the bionic computer thing or whatever. I got all these great certificates. You've completed 1,000 units. You really helped us look for ET.
You're a screensaver warrior.
Oh, we were so into it. Again, of course, one time I had access to the computer lab and they gave me the administrator password. And so I was like, oh, let's install it on all our machines. It's running in the background is what they told me. And then I lost the administrative password.
This is all before Bitcoin, I presume.
No, and again, I never got paid anything. All these Bitcoin people, they're like, let's turn on our computers and mine. And then boom, all this money.
Well, it's interesting. An actual useful thing people with some technical knowledge could do is to do, deterministic builds. It's like, say, go rebuild all of Debian on their home computer, just check that all the results match and stuff like that.
Cardon gave a really nice talk at the Crypto Economic Systems Summit 2 weeks ago on tool chains, GUIX, reproducible builds.
Yeah.
It's on YouTube
There's a lot
now.
of good work on that these days, and it's becoming a big thing.
I'm going to tag out. Thanks,
all right,
guys.
I think we're going to bring in the new crew. We're going to swap in. You guys are going to come in. We're going to come out. Thanks, Peter. Thanks, Wassim.
It's a flying shift.
There we go.